Ladies and gentlemen, welcome, bienvenue, ahlan wa sahlan at the webinar organized by the Global Diwan on the occasion of the International Women's Day. My name is Maurice Gourdeau-Montagne, and I am the co-chairman of the Global Diwan, and I am pleased and privileged to welcome you alongside with Her Highness Sheikha Intisar AlSabah, CEO and founder of Intisar Foundation, and she is also the co-chairwoman of the Global Diwan. As you may know, the Global Diwan has been founded 1 year ago as a platform which is meant to let leaders from the East and the West interact and exchange on economy, culture, society, for a better understanding and for further cooperation. From the East, we mean in particular the Gulf region, the Middle East and the Maghreb. From the West, we mean in particular France, United Kingdom and Germany, where we have partner associations. And I would like today to thank PRCA MENA Association and ICCO for their support on this day. Today, we know that across the world, and despite COVID-19, meetings, real ones, presential ones, virtual ones, are taking place. In France, we call the International Women's Day the International Day of Women's Rights, as we think that it is not about only celebrating women, but rather about enhancing the empowerment of women in society. I should rather say in societies, because every society is unique. We should hear now women's success stories. Our speakers will tell us their own story, how it started, their struggles, their achievements, and I hope will deliver also some advice, some recommendations to our numerous audience. We are honored to have with us prominent speakers, and after our co-chairwoman of the Global Diwan, Her Highness Intisar AlSabah, will deliver her remarks, our speakers will be, I name them, Dr. Amal Al-Malki, founding Dean College of Humanities and Social Science, HBK University of Qatar, Mrs. Yasmine Abdel Karim, co-founder and CEO of Yalla Sekka in Egypt, Mrs. Mounira Jamjoom, co-founder and CEO of Aanaab in Saudi Arabia, Mrs. Fatima Al-Jaber, CEO Al-Jaber Group in the United Arab Emirates, Mrs. Caroline Fattal, founder of Stand for Women in Lebanon, and Mrs. Arie Rehman, president of Citizen Entrepreneurs and founder and CEO of Fred Boy and My Boxman from France. So, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for being here. We shall have a very thrilling moment together, thanks to our speakers. And now I would like to give the floor to our chairwoman, Her Highness Sheikha Intisar AlSabah. Please, Your Highness.
Thank you so much, Your Excellency, and thank you for all the amazing women who are joining us and all the great people who are watching. I say great because you've come to the best webinar. I know there's a lot going on on this day, but this is by far going to be the most enjoyable, the one with the most prettiest faces, and the one with very courageous and very inspirational women. I would like to start by seconding what His Excellency said, which is I will be at the end just summarizing everything the amazing panel will be contributing, and I will start with myself, what I do, and my challenges and how I overcome them. My name, as you've heard before, is Intisar AlSabah. I am from Kuwait, and to be honest, the biggest challenge has been and continues to be my thoughts and my analysis of the situation myself, my ability, and my ability both to fail and, if one wants to call it fail, but my ability to grow and my ability to shut myself down. So I didn't grow, I mean, my mother was strong. I didn't grow up with high self-esteem. I don't know why. Looking at my life now, I have no idea why I had such low self-esteem. I thought very little of myself, even though I was very able from a very young age to take care of myself. I was very good in school. I was always smart, but all of that I didn't see. And so my biggest challenge was just overcoming my thoughts of what I can do, what I cannot do, and also my thoughts of what women can do as opposed to what men are able to do. Again, it's my thoughts, it's not reality, and I can 100% assure everyone listening to hear that they are my thoughts, they're not real, because I don't see where I cannot do it anymore. So I've overcome my limiting beliefs, and those went in my personal life, in my emotional life, but also in my business life. I used to run a manufacturing company. We had 2,000 plus people, and even then, my inability to trust that I know what I'm doing, my inability to trust my knowledge was always my limiting belief. I would be sitting either in the board or in the executive meeting, or even one-on-one with the managers, and overruling what my knowledge was, because I thought, oh, they might know better. They've done it for 20 years. He's a man. Again, I know it's ridiculous. As I'm saying it now, I'm reflecting on it and thinking, oh my God, I'm sorry, you were so naive. You were so belittling of yourself. So for me, my biggest hurdle has always been my belief in my ability and my exaggeration of my weakness. I couldn't have wished, at an earlier webinar I had today, I shared a few of my shame stories, and that was my challenge. I said, I'm going to share a few shame stories, because once we share the stories that we find shameful, we let go of them. And when we let go of them, they no longer haunt us, they no longer take over. And I will share these shame stories because they'll explain what I'm saying now, which is, I always wanted to be a boy because I thought, oh my God, boys have it better. I don't believe that anymore. I have 4 girls, and with every daughter, I would cry because I wanted a boy. And looking back and on that, I'm thinking, oh my God, thank God I never had a son. I would have given all my power to my son, which is what I've seen. See, these role models I've had, from my mother giving her power to her son, my grandmother giving her power to her son. So my challenge has been to not do what was role modeled for me, but go against it. Well, my paternal grandmother never gave her power to anyone, so that might have been my saving grace. So my biggest challenge has always been myself, because I have a huge ability to learn. I have a huge ability to analyze and know that this is right or wrong. And also, I know my other challenge has been that I don't listen to my true inner wisdom. And when I say true, is because there's an inner wisdom and there's a critic. And sometimes I get to confuse them both. I actually have had very good success with giving a nickname to my inner critic. I call him Mr. Empty. I'm so sorry. I don't mean to be, putting him as masculine, but I don't know why. It just came as Mr. Empty, because what he says is just empty and it's useless. And now I've made peace with the previous Mr. Empty, and his new name is Mr. Fullali. Well, the new name was Mr. Full, but to make it fun and to make it less serious when I'm attacked in my thoughts, I've called him Fullali, and every time I think of him or I hear him speak, I actually start dancing, and Fullali's back, and poking fun at my fear. That's one of the things that I've realized I do very well now, is to poke fun at my fear, and therefore my fear does not engulf me and take over. And that's my biggest challenge. And looking at everything that I've done and everything I've become, it's been because I had to overcome the challenges. I took a company that was faltering and failing, had debts and overdrafts, and I didn't have experience, yet I had the brains, I had the passion, I had the ability to solve problems. I've always loved solving problems, and I still can. And I turned that company to a money-making company within 6 years with no experience. Yet, the only reason I was able to do that is when I stopped listening to what they were saying. When I stopped listening to what, and it's got nothing to do with male or female, that the leaders in the company, once I stopped listening to what their advice was, I started succeeding as a company. Is because in the beginning, I thought they know what they're doing. They've had 20, 30, 40 years experience. Here I am, I don't know what I'm doing. But when I started, and I have a lot of logic, so I'm blessed to be able to have enough logic to know when I'm being ridiculous or when I'm being very smart about something. And only when I trusted myself, only when I trusted my instinct, only when I trusted my ability, was I able to turn the company into a money-making, was I able to let go of running that company, because I realized that's not what I want to do for the rest of my life. That is not my ambition. That is not my vocation. And so I went on my own, and against the better judgment of everyone, I did make it, and I am making it. And so I am grateful to everyone who didn't think I could do it, because they made me come up to the challenge and succeed. So that is my 10 cents. I hope anyone who's listened to me would, number one, let go of their shame stories by sharing them. Number two, believe in themselves. Even if you do a mistake, as long as you believe in yourself and you believe in your ability, you realize it's a mistake immediately. You don't have ego if you believe in your ability. You only have ego when you don't think you can, and therefore you don't. So when you believe in your ability, keep learning, keep aspiring to have more, and listen to what people say. So I will end it here, and I will be passing the microphone, well, the virtual microphone, to my amazing, very good friend, but also inspirational Dr. Amal Al-Malki.
Thank you. Thank you, Your Highness. I'm humbled by your introduction, and you're an inspiration. You're such a lovely soul, and a source of peace and love to everyone around you. I'm extremely honored to be with you all and among those exceptional women who are effecting change in their societies. To find the right angle to present my story was a challenge, to say the truth, because it was presented as a success story, although I don't think success or failure can be assigned yet to any of our stories, as we are still living them and we haven't reached an end. But we can certainly talk about the journey, how it took us time to find our path, how we were stifled by traditions and fixed gender roles and discriminatory social norms, and how we fell out of our pure miscalculation, but how we stood up, crawled, walked, ran, and now at a stage of surfing the waves smoothly. My angle to my story is identity, how we are identified by others, and how we identify ourselves, and how identity can be the most elusive question, a transparent cage we live in. As a hybrid, born to a Qatari father and a non-Qatari mother, I was the different, the odd one in any given setting. As a rebellious teenager, I tried to find myself in books. I read all classics in Arabic and English, wrote and published at a very early age without the knowledge of my family, using, under a pseudonym. As a young adult, I chose to be very angry for being denied freedom of mobility and choice due to social and traditional structures that were not friendly to women who choose or chose to not to conform and follow. My differences shaped who I am in the eyes of others, and also my differences led me to make drastic decisions to who I wanted to be. Today, because of being different, I am known for many things within my context, but mainly as a pioneer and a role model. Two appraisal terms we use in literature to denote success, which I'm very grateful for. Yet I see them restricting because at the core of both is a focus on individuality and difference. They say I'm a pioneer, and a pioneer is someone who has paved a new way for others to follow, is the first in doing something that have gained me public recognition. And the language of pioneering is powerful and attractive indeed, establishing precedents in areas where no other woman or Qatari have gone into. I was the youngest PhD holder in Qatar in 2003. I was the first and only Qatari faculty in Education City under Qatar Foundation across all Western universities for 11 years. I've established the Translation Studies Institute in 2012. I became the first Qatari Dean in Education City in 2016. I founded a college. I launched the only women studies program in Qatar. I gave talks, published, and I've been in negotiations where no other woman or Qataris have. I'm also called a role model for the younger generations whom I teach, mentor, and engage with locally and regionally. Relationship have been established in literature between female aspiration, achievement, and role models. Yet the story of optimism and the focus on success and achievement is really misleading because my story revolves around failures, compromises, and daily negotiations. The tendency to offer one's life as a completed journey to be replicated is a trap and a fallacy that we should not fall into or believe. I inspire, yes, and my aspirations are for the collective, but I'm very aware of the limitations of our culture, whether global or local culture, that resists and ignores women's aspirations. Academia, on the other hand, has offered me, besides sanity, the answers to my many, many questions and enabled me to look at my differences as a powerful or as powerful characteristics that need to be celebrated. Academia calls this tendency to differentiate others based on race or culture or gender othering. I've become the other in many contexts, and while traveling east and west, I discovered that my identity, was only one unresolved question in the identity politics that is imposed on us and imposes on us certain frames and identifications to live and abide by. Amin Ma'louf says, identity isn't given once and for all. It is built up and changes throughout a person's lifetime. Today, I identify myself as a human, as a woman, and my roles as a scholar and a feminist. I'm an Arab, I'm a Muslim, I'm a hybrid too. Not to forget that I'm a mother. So I am many in one. I'm multi-layered. I am capable of being all of those things at the same time. And I do not have to be fitted into any frame that would make it easier for others, East and West, to control me. I teach students about identity politics. I teach them post-colonialism. I teach them feminism. I teach them multiculturalism. I teach them how to write themselves. And not about, actually write themselves instead of having others write them. How to document their heritage and oral histories. How social justice, gender equality, and inclusion are the basis of a society that wants to survive in this challenging political and socioeconomic climate. I write extensively about Arab women and focus on the richness of their experiences, which goes against centuries of misrepresentation by the West and current political agendas by their own countries. I made my job to expose these misrepresentations through my work, but also to help and support local female communities through education and awareness. While some of us have access to quality education, networking, and jobs, and we're supported by families, we only represent a few. We are the rising cosmopolitan class, and both East and West are actually competing for our attention. So let's not forget the women who are at the other extreme, the silenced voices of Arab women who struggle, like many women around the world, fighting patriarchy, poverty, corruption, and war. While feminism is a controversial word, both East and West, research suggests that women who behave collectively to pursue a better future for themselves and their daughters create the optimal conditions for rising together in a world of men under assumptions of equality. Whether this inclination toward collective behavior is called feminism or not makes no difference really to its effectiveness as a strategy of organization and coalition building among women and the building of critical mass. Females must be united to create the critical mass necessary to remedy the blind spots of males and their patriarchal filters. Thank you so much. Now I would I'm honored to actually introduce the second speaker. And this is one of the active taking my words into action and supporting each other. So the next speaker is Miss Yasmina Pilkeri. Ms. Yasmine Karim has over 10 years of experience of human resources management and entrepreneurial leadership. Prior to her founding of Yalla fil Sekka YFS, Yasmine was the human resource manager at Schlumberger, Schlumberger's global headquarters in Paris. Her expertise is widespread and encompasses public policy, operations, logistics, supply chain management, and human resource management. Yasmine holds a master's degree in public policy and administration from Harvard Kennedy School in the United States, an MSc in human resources from Robert Gordon University in the UK, and BS in economics from Cairo University in Egypt.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Dr. Amal, for the warm and the lovely introduction. I'm humble. I'm very also happy to be on this event. So hello, everyone. Happy Women's Day to all the women on this call. This is the real special day of achievements that is worth celebrating. And I take this chance actually to thank all the Global Diwan team and Her Highness Sheikha Intisar for this wonderful initiative that is allowing all of us to celebrate together and hear the stories and inspire hopefully others and also answer the question of everyone on the call. So as Dr. Amal has introduced me, my name is Yasmina Pilkeri. I'm a mother of two wonderful daughters, Lulua and Lujay. My story is very simple, actually. It's a very simple one. And I'm an Egyptian girl born and raised in Egypt. One thing I was really lucky with is that I was not raised seeing the difference between man and a woman. I don't know if this was intentionally or just happened like that. So my father always wanted me to be the tomboy. In the beginning, I was the only girl. And I think of the way I look and my colors being in Egypt, you know, we always wanted to toughen me up. So I find myself in what we call the men space, not that I'm planning for. So since the age of 14 years old, I find myself joining the handball national Egyptian team. And as you know, this is a tough sport for women. And people didn't take me serious. I was very short at that time, slim, you know, again at that time, and as you see my colors. So when the game was on, and because of who I look and how I look, you will hear the supporters saying, leave the blondie, leave her, that she's not of any importance in that game. till the blondie runs and take the ball and boom, she scores. So I was a fast runner, right? So no one can catch me. And then you find the, you know, the supporters at this age was like the mothers and all of that. Get this girl, she's annoying, you know? So this is how my story started, actually, when I sit and look back at it. So then moving on, you know, I find myself in Schlumberger, again, moving up the ladder, as Dr. Amal said, from a small representative to head the HR department in France, not speaking French at that time. My manager said, I don't know how you become here. You don't speak French. You know, I wasn't French educated. And I said, not a problem. We learn it. And he said, what do you mean? French is a very difficult language. I said, and I really love to express myself. So I don't think that language would be a barrier. So let me learn it. And I would go beside him, and he was a real French person who really loved his language and proud of it. And he said, you make a lot of errors, the feminine, the masculine. I said, but you understand me, right? So till now, it's my third language. I speak it and I love it. I always wanted to speak French. And he was like, you have no embarrassment. You don't know how to pronounce stuff. I said, it's not important. We do understand each other. So, and again, you know, now I find myself in the logistics sector. So I'm not sure actually what's happening in my life so far. Is it me who's attracted to these spaces, or am I attracting these spaces to me? So to find myself now with Yalla fil Sekka, which means for the non-Arabic speaker, let's go on my way. It's in the logistic business. It's a service and delivery business. The idea was simply born by a very simple personal experience. I was visiting Cairo. At that time, I was living abroad. And during my visit, I forgot my phone. And when I forgot my phone at my friend's place, it is a 65-kilometer to where my parents live. And I just was searching for a service or an app or something to pick up my phone and drop it. And there is none at that time. And I was like, wow, no way, there isn't such a service in such a big, crowded city. I returned back to Boston and I was obsessed, you know, researching similar cities and startups to find that most of similar cities, like such as Jakarta, Tehran, Mexico, Delhi, Colombia, all of these places had such delivery apps. And at that time, with this idea, I didn't even think that this is such a tough sector. I didn't look if there are any women handling logistic business in the region. It didn't come to my mind that this is only a man's space. So I moved on with the idea. This idea was, you know, identified by many investors, where I find myself incorporating the company and raising a very nice fund and launched the company last year. We started with Yalla Sekka last year, 0 orders. I was like, why am I in Egypt? Why did I return after 16 years outside the country? This is the most complicated operational place, and I'm a woman, and I'm going to deal with drivers, I'm going to deal with motorbikers and how I look. I was like, what happened? But it was too late. I was already here. And now we are at 3,000 orders a day. And, you know, I'm sending my investors report, and I'm looking and I'm checking with my CFO saying, please revise the numbers. And he was like, Yasmine, we're at 3,000 orders, get over it. And I'm like, okay. And now I'm raising my Series A. And I said, you know what? Live with it and just move on. Don't keep thinking about, is that true? Is it happening? What's going on? I'm sure there's something's going to happen. I always speak with my co-founder. I say, you know, things stay calm, that one day something I'm going to realize. And he said, no, you know, it is what it is. It's happening, and let's see where it goes. So I really hope one day we become a unicorn, because I want to give more and more hope, first to my daughters, of course, and all women across the world. Actually, lately I was approached by one of the publications that reached out to me mentioning, Yasmine, why you never announce the amount you have raised? for Yalla for Sekka. We raised more than $1 million. And she was saying this is considered really one of the highest seed rounds in the region raised by an Arab, a woman, in the logistic business. Do you know that there is no CEO and co-founder of a delivery company in the region, if not in the world? Why didn't you write this scoop? I was like, wow, I didn't know that. I said, could I write it now? And she said, no, it's too late. You've been here operating. So I go back right away to my HR manager and I say, listen, I want you to develop for me a referral program that set targets for everyone to refer women in the sector. They need to know it's simple, you know, and I put on him targets as well, you know, that he needs to get more women in the sector. So we have a bonus for anyone who's going to get a woman here to work with us. So this domain of logistics, when I'm looking at it, come on, guys, this is all about organizing and planning and productivity. Who's better than women doing this? You know, we do this on our daily life, our normal day-to-day life, you know, multitasking between kids and jobs and managers and husbands and partners. And it's like, you know, going and cooking and I mean, all of this we're doing. And I said, it's all about that. You know, when I'm looking at this men, how they are thinking about the process and how could they make the productivity. I said, why are you thinking about it this way? We simply could do it this way. And they're like, it's easier. I said, yeah, welcome to our world. You know, it is definitely easier. So finally, I think just to say here, I think these limitations come sometimes from within our minds. Indeed, there are some out there, as Dr. Amal said, there are women, of course, that are oppressed, they don't have equal chances, and they're silenced, we can't hear the voice. But I see also a big majority for women who have, you know, the opportunity that they are themselves limiting themselves. But I personally believe, you know, that we need to stop, as His Highness Maurice said, you know, apologizing right in the beginning of the call when I was late on this call. We should stop to think that, to take things personally, you know, when we have an argument or something, or feel guilty for things that we don't even know if they were there or if they were even mistakes. It's okay, you know. My ex-manager in Schlumberger used to tell me, you know, Yasmine, people feel comfortable with stereotypes. They can easily predict the stereotype and know how to react to them. So, and you are not a stereotype, Yasmine. So you're not only confusing, but sometimes you are annoying, you know? So I said, okay, but you know what? I have 2 daughters, you know, and we are in the 21st century. And these stereotypes you're talking about were there since the 19th century. So, man, it's time to move on. And actually, it's an optimistic time for all of us because the world is changing. And so should we. Many women now are leading and heading governments and presidents. We have more than 30 countries around the world. So let's really break our fears. Let's get rid of our limitation and sense of guilt and be proud of who we are and include more women and help more women to break any barriers. That's my message for you today. And I hope, you know, this was a simple story. And I would like now to leave the floor for Dr. Mounira Jamjoom, who is the CEO and co-founder of Aanaab company. Thank you.
Thank you, Yasmine. It's a pleasure to be here. Thank you, Your Excellency, and thank you, Sheikh Intisar. It's really wonderful hearing everyone's stories from identity politics to logistics to imposter syndrome for women, and talking so openly about how difficult it is sometimes. I'm already inspired. I was thinking a lot about how to present my story, and I think my story has the theme, the cutting theme in my story, and I'll start with my childhood, has always been trying to reinvent myself to achieve my goal. What I've learned today is that there are many ways we can, and many routes we can take in our lifetime to achieve the same goal or the same outcome that we want. Ever since I was a child, I've always wanted to be a teacher. That's all I've wanted to be. It's not a lack of ambition. It's not a lack of imagination. It's just something I love doing. I was one of those kids who would wear high heels and go and teach all my cousins. I was the one who would bring all the class together after school and teach them and then follow up and make sure they all got the right grades. So I've always loved teaching people, sharing knowledge, summarizing ideas, breaking it down into small chunks of knowledge. And that's exactly what I did when I graduated. I was top of my class. I was always very competitive in school. I competed on both STEM and literature subjects. And when I graduated, I told my parents, okay, I'm going into teacher education. And they were extremely disappointed with me. They were like, you can be a doctor, you can be an engineer, you can be a businesswoman, you can be whatever you want to be. I'm like, yeah, but I want to be a teacher. That's what I want to do with my life. And at the time, being a teacher did not require you to have outstanding academic achievement. Did not require, it was a very available career for women in Saudi. At the time when I graduated, it wasn't like you're going to have to break the rules of the labor market. It was available and most women were working in the education sector. But I wanted to understand the sector because for me, I really believed that education could, if done properly as a system, could really be the ladder for women to achieve what they want to achieve. Education, as Tara Westover says in her book, Educated, it's an outstanding book. It can either be a ladder or a fence. And what I really wanted to see from the sector is for it to be a ladder for women to go up and to really achieve what they wanted to achieve. So I did that. I was a special needs teacher for a while. I continued all my degrees in really understanding the education sector. I did a degree in New York and taught in New York public schools to really understand how teaching happens in difficult situations. I continued my PhD in teacher education to understand how you do workforce planning for the education sector and how you can really improve that. And I went into academia to start teaching. What I realized with academia at the time when I was working in Saudi is that it was very difficult for me to achieve the dream of reforming the education sector in Saudi, because it was very gender segregated. If I was in academia, means I'm in girls' colleges or girls' universities. I was not able to sit at the table. And I'm talking about the early 2000s. I'm not talking about today. Sitting at the table with the decision maker was very difficult. So I said, you know what? I need to be 3 times as competitive as my male colleagues. I got all the degrees you can possibly have in education, from the top universities to make sure I tick all the boxes. I'm currently getting a degree from the Harvard Business School to top the business degree. I worked, so when I felt that the academic sector was a little bit limiting for me in order to achieve, I went out and I had a different route and went into management consulting. And this is where I'm saying you can really go through different routes to achieve the same dream. Management consulting taught me a lot about how to structure your argument, about how to sit at the table, about how to talk business, about how to sell projects, and all of the skills that I really needed that I lacked as an academic and as a woman at the time. And I learned a lot, and it was really difficult and very taxing in the beginning, but it added a lot to my education degree. I worked a bit in the management consulting area, learned a lot, and then decided in late 2013, early 2014, to set up my own education company. Said, let's go solo, because this is the way that I think I can achieve my dream of changing the education sector. Government is too slow, management consulting is too corporate. I want to combine both. I want to combine my love for education, and at the same time, I want to do it in a way where I build the culture of the company on how we do education reform. And we set up the company in 2014. It grew. We are now, we have a niche education company that focuses on education development called Emkan Education. We work on school reform. We work on reforming the sector itself. We train teachers in the sector. And again, I did another pivot. I'm always pivoting, trying to achieve where I want to go. About 2 years ago, set up another company called Aanaab. Aanaab came out of a problem that we saw in the education sector in the Arab world in general, and GC specifically, is that the Arab teacher is low skilled compared to the international teacher. The Arab teacher doesn't have access, and most of the teachers are female. They don't have access to the same professional development opportunities that teachers who speak English have. So we decided to build a platform, and it was really a test at the time when we launched it, where we would train large numbers of teachers and provide them high quality professional development that's free and accessible to everyone. It was a crazy idea when we started. I tried to knock the doors of investors. Everyone told me, invest in what? In teachers. It's not a scalable market. There is no upside to that market. I was an educator going into ed tech. So it was a bit difficult to find the right investment story at the time. So we funded the company ourselves. We set up the company and we put our first free online course, and in the first week we had 17,000 enrollments in the course, and we said, okay, this is making sense. Teachers want to learn. Today our learners on Aanaab are 68% women who take professional development to advance themselves in the education sector. It tells you a lot about women. Women are hard on themselves. They really like to educate themselves, they like to develop themselves, and to be honest, I see, and most of the trainers on Aanaab are women. 80% of our trainers on Aanaab today are women. We were able to raise funding, $1.5 million, right before the COVID hit in March last year, from 2 investors who believed in the idea of investing in the Arab teacher, and that it is scalable and that you can create a social impact and an ROI. And we are continuing to grow the company. Today we have 80,000 course enrollments. My dream is to really be able to reach 3 million Arab teachers with knowledge that is free, accessible, high quality, to help them develop in their professional development and in their career. The key message that I want to say, as I'd like to give the floor to my other outstanding colleagues, is that really the sky is the limit, and at the end of the day, your limitation is your imagination. When I went into the education sector to be a teacher, I knew that I wasn't only going to be a teacher. I was going to be, maybe I didn't know at the time that I wanted to be a teacherpreneur or an edupreneur, but I knew that there was a lot that you can do, and that lack of imagination is what hinders you. But your ability to reinvent yourself with every step, this is critical, and this is something that comes from inside. And it's something that we have to teach girls, is that everyone thinks, okay, I got this degree, I will get this job. But life is not in boxes. And life doesn't work in boxes. You got this degree, but what skills do you have? What can you create with your teaching degree? What can you create with your education degree? And this is what I love doing, and I'm very excited about it, and I'd love to continue doing. And this is our message, and our focus is to continue learning and to make learning accessible to everyone. That's my story in a nutshell. I'm happy to answer any questions later about myself or Aanaab, and I'd like to give the floor to our dear colleague who I met last week and would love to meet face to face as well, is Mrs. Fatima Al-Jaber, CEO of Al-Jaber Group in the UAE.
Thank you, and good afternoon to all of you. And happy to be among these leading ladies and to listen to these interesting stories. Really, it's really empowering to listen to all of your stories, and maybe also the other stories to come. My name is Fatima Al-Jaber, and I come from UAE. I think I'm fortunate to be part of from the UAE, and to be part of the empowerment story of the UAE, the woman empowerment story of the UAE. I think I've lived it and grown with it and became one of its supporters and promoters. Woman empowerment is really a big story in the UAE, and us as Emiratis, we feel so proud to be part of this. I graduated from UAE University in Bachelor of Architectural Engineering, and since then joined the engineering profession. Was part of I worked in the government for like 18 years, and in the different engineering and management fields related to my study. I think what I found out that there was a few women at that field at that time, and started to look, and as I went up and up the ladder, I look around and I find sometimes myself, I'm the only woman at the board or at the table. And that really was a bit, wasn't really comfortable, because I know that there is a lot of ladies there, but they were not given this opportunity. So I started to promote women within my department, you know, try to challenge them to be in better positions. And I found out a lot of them they didn't have the confidence that they can be at that role. I kept challenging them. And I remember there was one position that I promoted a woman for it. We had, I was responsible of the committee of the Grand Mosque, which is the big monument in Abu Dhabi, the Sheikh Zayed Grand Mosque. And we were at that time, the guy who was responsible for the project director have left, and we wanted to put somebody else. So I picked 3 people, 3 guys and a woman. And when I interviewed each one of them, the 3 men, they said, no, we don't want this position. And I said, why? They said, it's very challenging and there's so much politics in this and we don't want it. So we were left with the only woman. And when I didn't actually tell her that she is the only one left. So when I discussed it with her, and she said, yeah, I think, I'm not sure, maybe not. And then I told her, do you think that you can do it? Do you have the ability? She said, yes, I have the ability, but I'm not sure that people will allow me to take this opportunity. I said, don't worry. Do you want to be there? And she said, yes. So we promoted her to that position. And she was actually the woman who finished the Grand Mosque. And it was opened after that. So I think it's just, you need to help people to understand their abilities, and you need to give them a bit of confidence so they can go to the next challenge. So from that, I learned that I have to support other women. I have to be part of an empowerment movement that can open the doors for others. Then my journey continued after I left the government. I went into the private sector, and that was, I think, a different story, because even when I joined the private sector, and honestly, I was working with my family group, I was asked to come to my family groups by my father, and he said, why don't you join us? And I said, okay, but I've never imagined the amount of challenge that I will face at the group at that time, because I was the only woman on top also at the group. So there was lots and lots of challenges that, you know, sometimes just as Sheikha Intisar said, that sometimes, you know, you just stop and say, maybe I can't do it. Maybe I'm not the right person. But then something in your inner mind just tells you, no, you can do it, and you can achieve what you want to do, or even you can go beyond. So I think by insisting on myself, I would say, and by creating a challenge for myself and pushing myself to the extreme, it enabled me, I think, to go to the next step. In the group, I think I realized also that there is, especially in the private sector, there's not a lot of women. And at that time, we were looking into empowering women in the business and the private businesses. So I went with the Chamber of Commerce, and we starting founding the Businesswomen Councils. At that time, I think it was a 2000 era. There was no Businesswomen Council. There was a lot of women who are shy to promote their businesses, to talk about their businesses. Even they don't understand the regulation. So we went and established the Businesswomen Councils in the UAE, and I was fortunate to be one of the founders at that stage. By establishing these and working with the Chamber of Commerces and with the authorities to, I think, tweak some of these regulations, because we didn't have a lot of regulation. There was a lot of businesses that are closed for women. They're not allowed. So we started having the lobbying and discussion, and we managed to do a lot of things. We managed to change some of the regulations, change some of the laws. And the first thing was it's a small thing, but I think it made a difference for a lot of women, the home-based licenses. That was established, I think, in Abu Dhabi at 2002, and was approved by the Executive Council. That opened the door for a lot of entrepreneurs and women to start their businesses from home. It was something, I think, it's small, but at the end of the day, it opened the door for ladies in the remote areas in the UAE to start establishing and to start understanding businesses, and then go to these Businesswomen Councils to understand how they can get the license, how we can train them, what can they do, what other aspects they can improve in their business. So that was the start. And then, you know, we start to open other doors for women, seminars, trainings, a lot of these things that, you know, joined the movement. Another thing after that, I moved to something else. I was in the C-suite position. I looked also around, there was not a lot. And at that time, I started also looking at why we don't empower women, why we don't show them that there is a possibility, why we don't even give to authorities and tell them, you know, you can promote women to these positions. So I started to cooperate with Women Corporate Directors, which is an organization out of New York. We started a chapter in the UAE to promote this movement. It was interesting, I think, because it made me meet a lot of women, a lot of ladies who we did not know about. And it also helped to promote a lot of women to the authorities. And sometimes I have always calls from different people asking me, you know, to recommend women or, you know, for certain positions. That also brought me into something else, which is the promoting women to invest their business, their money in the financial. You know, a lot of women are not controlling their own monies. So we started an investment company directed towards women businesses, women investors. So I was fortunate. We managed to, I think we were fortunate to, at that time, to get majority of women investors with us in this company. And we are running now and successful, you know, investing into smaller businesses, but I think it just made, it was an idea that I think shows that if women work together, they can do a lot of things. Of course, I am still now, also another thing that I maybe forget to highlight, I was on the board of directors for the Chamber of Commerce in Abu Dhabi, and I won an election actually, which was also a challenge to me, because nobody at the beginning, people said women cannot win these elections. But I made it clear, and then I think I was the winner. I wasn't actually sure when they were announcing that. It was really an experience. When they were announcing the names, I didn't hear my name. We are 13 people. So they started from 13 to number 1. So they started the 13 name, 12, 11, 10. And until 3, I didn't hear my name. And I said, gosh, I lost it. 2, no. 1, Fatima Al-Jaber. That was a big, I think it was a big success in my life. And it really empowered a lot of women to go through this experience. Challenges are always there. And for me, challenges, they are always there. And I learned how to adapt with them. Through my journey, you learn your lessons. You will not always have successes all your life. There will be some failures, of course, but I think any failure, you can just learn from it and go forward. I don't say that always I do the right things. Maybe we'll do something wrong. I mean, even in business, we know that certain opportunities sometimes work and the others, they don't work, and you lose sometimes money. But it's just learning from these experiences, living these experiences, I think make you stronger, make you wiser, and adds a lot to the way you judge things. I'm a mother of 5, 1 boy and 4 daughters. Alhamdulillah, I raised them on, they are equal, but also I raise my daughters that education is very important. They have to be confident in themselves, and they have to always look forward and be successful. This is the only things I think we can give to our children at the end of the day, because money can go, but confidence, education, giving them the right experience, directing them to the right thing. I don't control them, but I really give them the advice. I think this is the things that will make us successful in one way of our life. That's in a nutshell, my story. Now also, my story, as I said, is the story of the UAE. We've been so much fortunate with what is happening in this country. We're celebrating today the Women's Day, but we have also the Emirati Women's Day, which is on the 28th of August. And the differentiation between this, I think there are so many things that the UAE women have achieved, where the country have dedicated a 1 day for them. I feel so proud of being an Emirati, and that's what I can, that's my story. So the next speaker, I will give it to, I don't want to talk so much, I will give it to Caroline Fattal. She's the CEO of, Caroline, you are the CEO of
Stand for Women.
Yes, Stand for Women. I'm just sorry, I'm not wearing my glasses.
Don't worry.
So the microphone with you. Thank you, Caroline.
Thank you so much, Fatima. Well, I'm speaking to you from Beirut, Lebanon, with one of the most difficult situations our country has lived in its history. I will start a little bit about my journey and then how it interlinks with my country. I was born in a family that is a family of traders since my great-grandfather, and so we have a family business that is more than 120 years old, based in Lebanon. And my father was the eldest son. And here I echo with what Amal said, Dr. Amal said about her childhood, is that, my father being the eldest son, he was expected to have sons. And the son first was a daughter, second was me, was a daughter, third was a daughter. And each time my father would bring a girl for my grandfather, it was like a disaster. So for me, I think, as some of you said, like maybe Sheikha said, I should have been a boy, because, okay, they said the first child, alhamdulillah, but then the second, really another girl, and it was so I felt somehow that I had to be a boy and a son, although I never behaved like one, etc. But I think somewhere it was imprinted in my mind that women in our society, even though Lebanon appears to be a little bit freer than other countries in the region, it's still very much impregnated with stereotypes and biases. So I grew up also part of in France, part of my childhood, because there was a war in Lebanon. And then I worked in I didn't want to join the family business without previous experience. So I went further away from that, and I went to live in Buenos Aires in Argentina, to be able to live by myself, make my own career, understand what is a boss, fighting for my salary, for equal pay, etc. And learning in a multinational organization was really a great insight for me. And that's my uncles who asked me after a few years to incorporate the family business. This also echoes with Fatima's situation. So it's my uncles who asked me to join the family business, and it was definitely not an easy ride for me, because I was the youngest woman, a woman, the first from the family to join the business after more than 100 years. And I had to really find my voice. I grew up the ladder in the family business. I'm extremely proud to have done different jobs there. But sometimes, and I want to say this like many other ladies have said, when I finally grew up to the board of directors, I was physically sick before entering the boardroom, because I was not sure I was worthy. So I had stomach pains and different things. I was not sure that I was the right person to sit at the table. And like some of you said, I think it is Mounira. You took a lot of degrees, and I decided that I have to take 2 certifications for board of directors to make sure I was worthy of that job. That position. I did one with Hawkama in Dubai. I did one with the French Institute of Directors to make sure that, and this was never a question for my uncles and my cousins, the male, so this says a lot about also women, about the self-confidence, these inner voices that Sheikha has mentioned. How do we overcome that to make sure, yes, we are good, yes, we are competent, and yes, we are worthy of sitting at the table. And then along the way, of course, I got married, and as it's difficult to, maybe we haven't touched this point, but it's difficult to have dual careers in a couple. I had my career, my husband's career, and he got promoted to a job in the UAE in a tech company, and I had to let go of my day-to-day role in the family business and just stay in the board of directors. And that's where I lost myself along the way. I found myself sitting on a bed, crying and saying, where is me, Caroline, and all that? I had children, a loving husband, a beautiful house, every help that I could have, but I felt I was in a golden cage. And then I said, as it echoes now with also Mounira again, I said, okay, but now, Caroline, it might be time to reinvent yourself. Plans that you had, for the time you're gonna retire, maybe you can bring them, a little bit earlier. And I had always in my mind that when I retire, I'll be a psychoanalyst or a coach. And it's in the UAE that actually I trained and certified as a coach and started to work and as an executive coach. So it is if you want, in a way, my first reinvention. And I really echoed with Mounira when she said that it's all about reinventing oneself, how to bounce back with issues and things in your life. And then coaching is really my passion. I still coach till today. I love people development, leadership development. It's at my core, and it fuels me really. Along the way, I got named by Forbes Middle East as one of the 100 most powerful Arab women in business. And again, talking about self-confidence, I wondered the first time if they had made a mistake. How come, I am ranked in this? I mean, I didn't think I was visible. I didn't think I was, worthy of this. And then they named me a second time, a third time. And the third time I had an aha moment. I thought, look, okay, so then what does it mean to be in a ranking? What does it mean to be powerful? If no one knows about you, if no one knows what you're doing, if you don't empower other women, if you don't give them a voice, then what is this ranking all about? And that's where the idea of my next phase, which is the NGO I have founded, Stand for Women, really slowly grew in my mind. I had met also an amazing mentor. Her name is Penina Thompson, and she wrote a book, A Woman's Place is in the Boardroom. And Penina explained to me all the economic benefit of having women in senior hierarchical level, and that it doesn't only make social sense, of course, but it makes economic sense in terms of return investment, return on capital, etc. And I started to think, okay, what can I do to help women in my community and have more women in Forbes ranking or women entrepreneurs, etc. So I created Stand for Women, which is an NGO based in Lebanon. The two initial things I wanted to do was women's economic empowerment and championing sisterhood, because I really believe in women supporting each other. So initially that was the two pillars. We had a lot of events and even courses in academia here in Lebanon and in private sector companies. And then the August 4 explosion happened in Lebanon, which completely changed my view of things. I said that from social media and academia, etc., I have to go on the ground. So unfortunately, in the August 4 explosion, I lost an aunt who was a victim of the explosion. And I wanted to do something to accept the horror that had happened and to make meaning out of what was meaningless and what was horrendous. So I created the Marian Fund within Stand for Women, which is a fund dedicated to her memory and which is a fund that helps women, small businesses affected by the Beirut explosion. So we were able, with the help of UN Women and the help of other NGOs on the ground, to build a database of 240 women who lost their businesses in the Beirut explosion. We're talking here vulnerable women like grocery shop, flower shop, and also women who own supermarkets, or even women who are jewelers or designers. All were affected. And so far we have been able to help 109 women out of this 240 through to private donations that we have received. And we hope, of course, to continue. With Sheikha, Intisar, and the Intisar Foundation, we want now also to give psychological support for Lebanese women, because Lebanon has been, as I said at the beginning of my talk, at its worst time in history, with an economic collapse, a political collapse. And women are really the backbone of our society. And now if they collapse mentally, then we're doomed. And women can bring unity and peace in this region. And together with Sheikha, we are hopeful that at least we can help some women in my sample to have a good mental health. I will end up my talk by saying that it took time for me to find my voice, to accept that I had a voice that was worthy of listening at the table, in the boardroom, in any, in the media or anything. It took also time to find my purpose. I think today my purpose is in helping other women find their voices, stay in business. So mixing my love of commerce with my altruistic part, and reinventing myself all the time, whatever happens, whatever worse situation than an explosion near to Hiroshima and Nagasaki, but everything is about reinventing and being resilient. And I will end up by saying that someone asked me one day what is, I think, some of the secret of my leadership, and I said it's head, heart, and guts. And I think my head, my heart, and my guts really were my compass in my journey. And I feel very blessed to be today with all the amazing ladies from different countries. And I really, their stories echo so much with what I have lived as a woman. And each time we meet like that in these setups, I feel the power of sisterhood. And also with men included in the dialogue, it's the power of allyship. So thank you. And now I introduce the last but not least the speaker in the panel, which is Arie Barryman. She's from France, and she's the president of Citizen Entrepreneurs and the founder and CEO of Fred Bay and My Box Man. She's also into logistics, so I think, Yasmine, you will find an alter ego there. And then the floor is to you, Areeba.
Thank you very much, Caroline. Hi, everyone out there. And thank you very much. I'm so lucky to be here today among all these beautiful ladies and so inspiring. I hope really from the core of my heart that my story will be as inspiring as yours, women out there. Thank you. So yeah, as Caroline said, I will take you back to 13 years ago, and my story will remind you of Yasmine, of course. So just imagine 13 to 14 years ago, I was having a very peaceful life as I was serving as a civil teacher after completing my master's degree in literature. So of course, I'm born and raised in France, in Paris. Despite, being the daughter of entrepreneurs, my story is quite like surprising, I guess. So being a good wife and pregnant at that time of my first daughter, my husband had to move and just find a house closer to his job. So of course, I was a good wife, I was pregnant, I just decided instantly to give up on my career and unconsciously followed my husband's decision to move. So I just decided to resign, and I wanted to take care of the moving of the house. And at that time, I realized that finding a cheap, reliable solution in moving and logistics sector was quite complicated, was even not only complicated, but not existing on the digital, on the internet. So at that time, I just started searching on the internet. It was back in 2006, 2007. So yeah, I'm quite old. I'm sorry for that. But so, and at that time, I was just doing research on the internet, and I just came across two sentences that was really shocking for me. That said on the government site, French government site, and it was written 25% of trucks on road are empty and more than 50% have filled. And I was like, oh my God, we are on the era of digitalization. The transport sector is so expensive. I mean, when you just try to find good solution, you don't have any real solution, reliable solution, unless just pick up your phone, go on Yellow Pages directories and call them, having appointments with them, receiving them at home. They will just look at your house, at your stuff, your furniture and everything, and give you different quotes after 1 week, because they will be like, oh, I need to calculate, hold on, my wife will send you the quoting and everything. So that was quite complicated and very heavy and very expensive at the same time. So just the idea came to me like this, and I was like, wow, why not creating a web platform where anyone that could be any individual or any company will go on, just put a listing totally free, and at the other side, I will digitalize all the logistic and transport sector. So they will come on internet, they will put a quote, it's totally free as well, according to the capacity of their truck. So this is how I started. Despite being the daughter of entrepreneurs, I have to admit that my mother was not really supporting me, because she was like, oh my God, you are a teacher, you are pregnant. How could you even think of just change completely your career? I mean, everything is so well destined for you. You have everything is so clear written, everything is going smoothly for you. So are you gone crazy and you want to do in something that doesn't exist? You would be the first one in France, the first one in Europe to launch this idea. So how can I even think about it? I can't imagine how. I mean, you are telling me that every matching of the offer and the service, you will just take 10%. So that means that if the transport is like €1,000, you will only earn €100 out of it. But how much will you need to finally get a reasonable pay for yourself? And you are talking me about millions. And I was like, no, don't believe me, my mom, please believe me, it will work. That sounds so crazy at that time. And of course, the sector, logistics sector of transport and logistics, as Yasmine said, is so much, even in France at that time, was so much conservative and field of men. So just imagine at that time, I was like you, Yasmine, quite like short and very slim and look so younger, you know. And I used to go to those men and talk to them like, you know, I just want you to go on internet, log in, create your account, and you can just put a quote. And they were like, okay, hold on. Can you just, maybe you would be, I can hire you if you're looking for a job, and you could maybe be my assistant, or you could just serve me a coffee. That would be great. And we can find a way like that. And I was like, oh my God, they were just not getting it because they were not benchmark possible. I mean, nothing was just imagine, they couldn't imagine anything. So, but I didn't give up. I was really passionate by my idea. Maybe because as a young little girl, I have always seen myself as a businesswoman, you know, just with my briefcase, my laptop, and I don't know why, for some reason. So yeah, very in a natural way, I just started. But I had another, unfortunately, difficulties. I didn't have any, I would say, technical skills to develop a website, an application, on any solution on digital. So at that time, I had to just talk to different engineers, convince them that my idea was good. I didn't have any money to pay them, of course. So that was different challenges that I had to face at that time. So, but luckily, everything went quite smoothly. And at that time, my mother was still waiting for me to have a reasonable pay, you know, because she believed that every woman has to be economically completely independent, because she believes that this is something very important. So she was all the time asking me, okay, so how much mix and matching are you making? How much pay are you getting? And I was like, oh, maybe this month I will get nothing. And maybe the other month I will be getting 1,500. And it was like very going slow by slow. So till today, then I have been invited by the French president to have lunch with him on this famous 8th of March, because he invited 10 women. He wanted to have a lunch, all the women who were in innovative idea, who launched their company, of course, and in digital. So luckily, I was the youngest among them, and I went there. At that time, around the table, every woman, different French woman, was just sharing her story and all the challenges like we are doing today here, they faced. And at that time, I was like, oh my God, I'm not the only one. I thought that this is something that I was just facing me alone at home. And then I was like, okay, I really need to do something. I really felt like this is something I feel comfortable doing it, because I faced it, and especially with this sector. So I really need to go and help these women who wants to raise their voices. So at that time, I joined the French ministry as a volunteer to help them to work on women's rights, on the education side especially. And little by little, I just understood that, you know, when you are a kid in France, for example, you have on the corridor, you have the girls side and the boys side, although they are all together, but the pink side is for girls and the blue side is for boys. And I don't know, for some reason, every boy has to play with cars and every girl has to play with dolls. And that was so striking for me. I was like, okay, this is what we need to change, actually. We have to go on the, just like very low. I mean, we don't have to, we just need to change the whole society thinking, actually. And for that, we need to change and go back to different generation. And for that, we have to go on a very low level education side. When you are on, not on primary but when you are just on different crash, so for that, I worked on this, and then I have been contacted to participate in different French delegation. So I did to represent France on the G20 for young entrepreneurs. This is something that I did. And at that time, I realized that among the French delegation, we were only few women participating. The first year I participated, we were 11% of the delegation. And I was like, but this is not possible. We are few women, like entrepreneurs women, not few, many women actually, but why no one is participating? And unfortunately, I came across that most of the women, we actually ourselves, I don't know why, we we ban ourselves. It's not a society actually, it's in our mind. This is something that is creating, I don't know, because of the society, of course, maybe because of the men, because maybe they are so helping each other, and for some reason we step back. So at that time I was like, we need to change it. So the year after, I tried to welcome different women. So we raised this percentage to maybe like 17%, after that 23%. And then I have been nominated president of the G20 for Young Entrepreneurs of France. So we represent like on this era, France on a global level. And last year, the summit was held by Saudi Arabia. And we were like 35% of the delegation. We had women, 35% of the delegation. Oh, I'm sorry. We were having 35% of women entrepreneurs among the delegation last year. So of course, it's not the 50% that I'm aiming to achieve, but hopefully we will get it this year or next year. So my strong message today to all women out there, because I know we are short of time and I'm the last one. So my strong message to every woman out there is, please, please be confident, believe in yourself, believe in your gut, believe in your dream big, always dream big. You know, today I myself investor as a personal individual. I try to find different women and invest in their idea. And I don't know, for some reason, every woman when they go for raising fund, they think like 300K, 500K, 700K, or maybe 8, 90, 100K would be sufficient, because 1 million is going to be too high. And when we have different men entrepreneurs pitching in front of us, they come and they are like, oh, I need 5 million, I need 10 million. I mean, they don't hesitate, you know, to dream big. I don't know, for some reason, we women, we restrain ourselves, and we are always running the company or thinking about something as if we are just running a house. I mean, in that case, it's certainly different. We have to think our career as well. This is very important, because another last digit that is very important for me, because this was also one of the recommendations for the French delegation last year, is the study of McKinsey of 2015 that says that economical equality between men and women has to increase of 10%, because it will inject $28 billion of the GDP on the global level till 2025. So just imagine for 1 second that if you take seriously your career and you just decide to fight for your rights, to be economically independent, you can have a real impact, not only on your life, but on the global side. And this is very important. And you will feel so valuable, so proud of yourself, and you will be sharing your story and thinking that inspiring other women, empowering other women will give you even more confidence. This is what we all need. Thank you very much. Am I supposed to introduce anyone? I'm sorry, I thought I'm the last one.
Sorry, it's between me and Ambassador Maurice that we're just, you know, I'm completely starstruck Thank you so much, amazing ladies. I am utterly and completely starstruck, and I've made notes. Thank you, each and every one of you, for sharing her thoughts and her stories. Dr. Amal, I did you an injustice because I was just within your story that I really didn't take notes. So I will leave you till the end because I want you to continue my notes. I made the mistake with you to be totally engaged and forget that I should be taking notes. So I'm going to share Mrs. Yasmine, let's say a little bit about her story. She finds herself now and always in men's spaces because of being raised to toughen up, because of the way she looks. And that same thing was shared by Mrs. Areeba. And one thing she said, which I thought was very interesting, was blondies always scored. So thank you for changing everyone's perception of what blondies do. And thinking like a woman in a man's world opens up different possibilities and better solutions. So is that good? And then Dr. Mounira reinvents herself to achieve her goal. Thank you so much for that. There are many ways to get to goals. Education is the ladder or fence for women. This is huge. I love that. That's an amazing quote. And your imagination is your limitation. And يا حلوتي يا عسل انتي. My amazing friend Fatima Jabir is proud to be part of the women's empowerment story in the UAE. You inspired me personally a lot with your sharing of your story, and the fact that you found yourself mostly as the only woman on the table, and that made you want to bring other women up with you to higher positions. That is admirable. And one needs to help persons understand their ability so they can take the next challenge. And by creating a challenge for yourself, you were able to go to the next step. So thank you so much for all these insights. And the always formidable Caroline. She had, welcome to the table. We both wanted to be boys because we were supposed to be born as boys. Me too, I was supposed to be born as a boy. She had to pretend to be the son her father didn't have, just to appease her grandfather. And she decided, I love that you decided to leave to another country to see what you are capable of and also to gain experience. It's repeated and repeated and repeated in this panel that women strive to become more because there is, well, not with all women, I hope not with all women, but let's say with most women, we think we have to achieve more to get equal. And the degrees and taking so many degrees just to be level with the men in the family who didn't get the degrees. That's exactly, I think, how most of the women are. And I love that you invented yourself or reinvented yourself to be happy again. I added something on the side note, and it took time to find your voice and your purpose. So I think that is echoed by most of us here. And I love your secret to leadership: head, heart, and guts. And the last is Mrs. Areeba. She gave up on her career to follow her husband as a dutiful wife would do. And there she realized there is something that can be done. And that's how you started your business. So thank you for being a dutiful wife. That got you to where you are. So sometimes things that we think we shouldn't do actually benefit us a lot. And you had to be very creative when faced with challenges. I think that is something also echoed with most panelists. And something you said, please, 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 be confident, believe in your dream and dream big. And you know, with what you said about women who are seeking funding, always lowering the amount they're looking for, actually me and Karim just exchanged notes saying, oh my God, we've done that too. So thank you for reminding us not to lower our expectations, but to rise and grow to what our dreams are. And you said something, when women are economically independent, they inspire and empower other women. And that is so true. The stories shared today are amazing. Thank you, each and every one of you. And Dr. Amal, I love how you said the difference is in the identity, and your difference shaped yourself and made you accept others, and also the reason for your growth and success. And please share at least 2 more things, because that's the only thing I wrote. I was just so excited.
No worries at all. I'll summarize in form of advices, basically. I would say education is a winning battle for sure for women. I would advise to be a feminist and be proud of it. Importance of transnational sisterhood is evident in our success. I would say something about along the lines of make your paths to success visible without romanticizing them or romanticizing the journey. Don't romanticize the journey in terms of we need to stay angry until we see a change. It's the fire in the belly that makes us keep moving. And finally, encourage everyone to expose injustices, expose everyday sexism, racism, make it a daily habit for all of us. And remember that when we only become change makers when we change the lives of others. And that's it.
So I think we're coming to the end of this amazing webinar. I would like to say thank you to each and every one of you, and a big thank you to you, Your Excellency, for the opportunity for myself to learn so much and to grow. I grew a lot today, and I'm sure a lot of people watching have realized and gotten a lot of insights, and I will pass the floor to you. Thank you so much.
So, Your Highness, thank you so much. Thank you so much to our ladies speakers. Thank you very much to the audience. I will not say much because we heard impressive, inspiring stories. I am the only man in the panel here, so I was not the one who had to say anything. But what I would say that I heard determination and will mixed with generosity and creativity, and that's remarkable. I heard something so important as a man and being working with women. Don't self-limit yourself. That's so important. Don't imagine you are less than you are. You are more. And someone said that women are backbone in societies. I think throughout the ages, women have been backbones of societies, but it was not visible. Now be where you have to be, because we need this empowerment for the good sake of our societies. Someone spoke also of silent voices. What you said also was on behalf of silent voices. Humble people, humble women who are here or there, but who are doing whatever they can and who have to progress also. So thank you very much. I saw a lot of commonalities, though we know, and it was said that our societies are various, they are diverse, but commonalities are there. And in this commonality, I would see self-confidence and trust, and that's very important. So I wouldn't add anything else. Thank you very much. What you said as witnesses was fantastic. You are fantastic actors of renewing the world, and thank you for setting up bridges between the East and the West, which is the purpose of the Global Diwan. Thank you so much, Your Highness Sheikha Intisar, for being with us. Thank you very much to all of you.